I mean to deny nothing.
Then explain to me why you will not...
Because it is my name!
Can pigeons read? This one gives every indication, because he's been taught to distinguish between two words and to behave appropriately.
There are really two ways in which cooperation evolves. The first one is very ancient. It is based on genetic relatedness. The other kind of cooperation is based on various kinds of reciprocity.
He's learned his different response to each sign by being rewarded with food. So the bird isn't acting independently. Its behavior is shaped by controlling its environment. The first task was to isolate an individual piece of behavior and see how that could be changed.
We can dispose of the imagined internal cause. We dispose of free will as an American divine of the 18th century, Jonathan Edwards, did. He said, we believe in free will because we know about our behavior, but not about its causes. And of course, it's the object of a science of behavior to discover causes. And once you have found those causes, there is less need to attribute to an internal act to will, and eventually, I think we need to attribute nothing to it.
I mean to deny nothing.
Then explain to me why you will not...
Because it is my name!
And the intersectionalists would like to transfer well-being from those who have historically been privileged to those who have historically been oppressed, based essentially on an accounting scheme. How many different kinds of oppression have you faced, and what are the implications of how those different kinds of oppression interact? But the problem is that this way of thinking, which is very frequently a cartoon of reality. It does not depict the way oppression actually functions in the present. It lacks nuance. But beyond that, in order to function, it has to define an enemy. The enemy is effectively a fiction. In this case, it is something called whiteness. And the way the enemy is drawn, whiteness is an inherent characteristic, something that can be read on the skin. And what that means is there's no escaping it. So, for people who suffer from whiteness, you are simply going to be on the losing end of the intersectional juggernaut, no matter what you do. If you think about how that is likely to unfold, people who are the object of ire from the intersectionalists are going to be backed against the wall together. Who are they going to be? Well, primarily they're going to be straight and white, and very frequently male. What happens, though, if you back straight white males against the wall together? At the same time, the people who they have backed against the wall together have a second basis for cooperation, and it is much more durable. It is genetic cooperation. So the concern that I have is that the intersectionalists may end up creating the very enemy they claim they are fighting. They're going to back straight white males against the wall and speak of the devil. White nationalism will emerge from that cohort. And when it does, those people will feel empowered and they will feel self-righteous because they have been accused of things that are, frankly, a form of bigotry. They have been accused by bigots of oppressing others, and they have been told that they are not entitled to well-being, no matter how they individually have behaved. And so what do they have to lose by cooperating together against the intersectionalists and essentially creating the world that the intersectionalists claim already exists? Now, what we should do about this is not entirely clear, but one thing that must happen is we must level up our thinking, and we must understand that backing people against the wall who have a genetic basis for cooperation is very dangerous, because history tells us that movements created by such people can be very destructive, and that ultimately they may turn into a genocidal menace. So what is the outgrowth of all of this preoccupation that I've had on this topic? I think the answer is fairly clear. The answer is that we must recognize that the very best things that human beings are capable of are based on this more elevated type of cooperation. We have to resist the urge to fall into this negative kind of tribalism that is driven on both sides by the intersectional movement. And we must foster the kind of cooperation that has spread over the course of recent history.
I mean, because they just got too much to lose by printing the truth. You know that.
To lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood, now is the time. We will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. We will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. We will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day.